shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand now on this higher ground, where love is just a sound. Where love is...
Good morning, everyone. Crystal from Gecko Diva here. Welcome to Coffee and Cresties. Happy Sunday morning. Here with a tea. I had a cold this week, so I'm just getting over it. But my voice, I have not lost my voice, so that's always a good thing. Yeah, 'tis the season. It's been one of those things where it's just been the recycled cold in the household. I'm sure those of you who have children will know all about it. This one actually started with my husband, so he's the one that brought it in today, or this week anyways. So yeah, it's been interesting, but you know, we're getting closer to holidays, 15th already. So it's wild how quick this month has been going by. December has just been flying by. It's been really, really busy. I'm sure some of you have seen I'm still actively campaigning for 15 minutes a lame, and that has been awesome, but also very tiring to try to get all the content up. I'm still trying to think of ideas of things that I need to film over today and over the next week, just to kind of get things lined up, because we still have another basically 10 days of campaigning, right? The campaign goes until voting is until the 24th. And the judge's decision gets announced on Christmas Day at noon Eastern time. So it's, you know, there's no ending here. You got to keep pushing through the grind. And I know I've seen that I've dropped through the standings for the popular vote. So I was holding strong at 8, and then I went down to 7 and 6 and 5. And so I'm at 5. Last I checked, I'm at 5%. I haven't checked this morning yet. I know that there's been some other really strong contenders for the popular vote that have really skyrocketed and have increased. But I am not giving up, and I'm not losing steam. And I'm going to push to try to get the highest percentage I can by the time it closes on the 24th. And I very much appreciate everyone who has been helping out with that, because it's been a huge task, and I can't do it without everybody. Like everyone. The gecko community has been fabulous. There's been a lot of great ball python breeders and other reptile breeders that have also jumped on board and helped support. So it's been awesome. And with that said, I'm going to throw up the banner just to give people a reminder. And for those of you who are maybe new today or are joining or watching this later and not 100% sure what it is, it's the 15 Minutes of Lame contest that I am part of. And you can go to thefatmannation.com and go to vote now and select me and throw in your vote. You can vote every day from multiple devices. So thank you again for the support. Let's see who we have in the chat today. We have a pretty big group. Brian's drawing a crowd. Let's see. We got Kristen from Cresty Works in the house. Good morning. I want to talk about your awesome guest appearance this weekend that'll come up on the tea time. There's my husband, Gerald from VIP Morphs. I have Mary Beth in the house. Good morning. Our guest of honor. So Brian's in the house. Good morning. We got Cassandra in the house. Good morning. And Rouge River Geckos. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining. Parkour Geckos. So Brian hopped on a quick live on Instagram, and I believe it was you that mentioned that my intro song was too loud. And I honestly haven't noticed, because on my end it sounds not as loud, and I didn't know that it was blaring like that. I guess when I go and take clips, I just kind of skip the beginning and get to in the transcript where I want to go and take a screen record. So if I will take a look at that. I can't just make a little change, unfortunately, on StreamYard doesn't allow me to do that. So this is going to be a New Year's task. So in the holidays, what I'll do is I have to basically redo the video, because I do have it saved, but I use like 2 different apps to kind of do the editing and such. So I'll go and bring the volume down and resave it and re-upload it. So I got you. We will fix it. We will lower the volume. We got Eva in the house. Good morning. And Sly Kitten's in the house. Good morning. Scott's in the house too. Good morning from it's Miami Art Geckos. Gecko Kennels is in the house. Good morning. Lots and lots of people in the chat this morning. Good morning, Mark from the Gecko Room. Lake Tulan Aquatics. Good morning. You also have MF9. Good morning. Look at you guys all active in the chat. Mother of Geckos. Just getting ready for work. Well, I don't know if you can listen to me while you're at work, but I hope you have an awesome day at work. Sunday morning is never a fun time to go to work. Van, good morning. And we got Shauna Kana in the house. Shauna's been great too with the contest. She's been sharing absolutely everything. And let's see, we got anybody else here? I don't want to miss anyone. Lots and back and forth. And yes, here. So who's the first one that brought this up? Kristen brought it up. Unless I missed it somewhere else. Happy birthday. So Brian, he's on the show today and it's his birthday. So I feel really, really privileged to have him here. He's going to be joining and having a chat with me this morning on his birthday. But yeah, definitely happy birthday. And we can all give him a big shout out when he hops on the stage. And I think I am, Cresty Millions. Good morning. Thanks for joining in. We got Aaron. Good morning. And I appreciate it, Parkour. Any feedback that you can all give me only helps make the show better, right? So I definitely appreciate it. We got the fat man in the house. Good morning, Chris. Jennifer in the house. Thanks for joining us. And the good gecko. And I think we are done for our morning validations, and happy mornings. Again, thank you everyone who's been able to come on and join live, and I appreciate all of you that are watching this after the fact as a replay. I think what we'll do is we'll jump into our tea time. And where did it go? There it is. All right, so we have, it's been this, I feel like this is on repeat every single week since the contest has started, that I've just been having such a hard time keeping up on what's going on online and on Instagram, and who's posting what and who's where. I know there's a Repticon this weekend. I haven't seen a lot of people that are really posting things, like I know Leviathan posted something. So I'm trying to see if I could find things, but I know that people are having a good time there, and hopefully we'll hear more from it early next week. One of the there's a few things I wanted to that came on my screen this weekend that I wanted to give a shout out, and that was that the Unbiased Gecko Talk had their first official guest this weekend, and it was Kristen from Cresty Works. So they had a really good chat. What I think was really awesome is that they really got into like the nitty gritty on like experiences on like things like, her experience with bioactive and the substrate and the cleaning and kind of all the little things that you might not necessarily think of talking about on a show. So if you have a chance to check it out, it was a really great in-depth talk, which is pretty awesome and something kind of neat to have, and to kind of get a really good insight into how other people are really doing things behind the scenes, which is a lot of fun. So definitely go check it out. If you weren't able to catch it live, you can go catch the replay on their YouTube channel. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but the belt went missing for a little while. So it got lost in shipping, from my understanding, on its way to Paul, who was last year's 15 Minutes of Lame winner. So Paul is from Large Marge Morphs. He is a judge in the competition this year. He's not one of the main judges. He's basically the tie-breaking judge this year. And they had one belt, and the belt was going around, because the belt was purchased this year and it was a new edition, was going around to the different winners of 15 Minutes Lane. Everyone got to have their time with it throughout the time that since they got the belt. So it went and made its rounds, and before it made it to poor Paul, it got lost. So a new belt has been ordered. And this is the new belt. So Paul just picked it up yesterday, I believe. So he has his time now. I guess he has like 2 weeks with it, right? Because the new winner of 50 Minutes of Lame this year is going to get to have the belt. So he posted it yesterday, and there he's enjoying, some TV time and some pizza with the belt, and trying to really make his time with it count. I know, Chris said, she was, no. Well, we got a new one, so it's here. So there's a new belt now. So ship it with an air tag. Yeah, I think there's a lot more to the story, and I know Paul's covered it in other podcasts. And tonight he has a podcast with my husband, so they do the Lamish chat at 7 p.m. and they'll be on tonight, and I'm sure they'll talk about it, because he'll be really excited to speak that he has the belt back. So that's really awesome. And I'm happy that the belt is back now, because I want it. I want it in my hands so I could bring it to places like Flora Fauna, and then we can party with it. There's a ransom. Yeah, now we're just making up stories. So yeah, no, at least they got the new one, so that's awesome. The other thing I want to highlight, which was really cool that I saw that Quincy's been doing, is doing these short little infos about different genetics. So he did one just recently about tangerine, which is really cool, and you can kind of flip through and get all these little fun facts about it. I know he's done a video about hypo in the past. I think it's awesome seeing more people doing these type of things. It kind of inspires me to do another episode of After Dark, and maybe touching base on another project. So if anyone has any suggestions, shoot it in the comments. I'll probably put a post up too on Instagram to kind of get some ideas of putting feelers out there and seeing what people are really interested in. And maybe we can do a new episode in the new year. And yes, parkour, I'm thinking about it. I would love to go. The goal is to go, and I'm trying to make it happen. So hopefully I'll be able to go and meet everybody in person this year, or in the new year. So it'll be pretty awesome. And Jennifer is saying that she loves the tangerine information. And yes, a lot of it is great info to have, and to really, help put that learning out there. We've seen it with Pixel, where there's a lot of people that are really starting to collab and really putting out as much information that they've learned about things. And it's kind of nice to see that happening too with projects that people are actively already been working on for a while, right? Okay, and do we have anyone else? A little shout out. We have AJ in the house as well. Thanks for joining. And I just clicked another one. And HKD Geckos in the house. Good morning. And he's wishing Brian a happy birthday. And I think we should bring the birthday boy on. So let me just get this ready, and we are going to hop into our segment. Good morning.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Coffee time.
Coffee time. I got the tea this morning. Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody else here in the chat. I appreciate all the well wishes. I'm happy to spend my birthday here. This is great.
Yeah, and I feel
42, 42 years
42,
old. Yeah.
42 years young.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you, I don't feel young.
I feel like the older you get, you always feel like, oh, it goes down all
Yeah.
downhill from here. I turned 40 this year, and I feel it was a hard one.
Oh, 40 is a big one. Yeah, 40 was a big one. I'll tell you that. It's
Yeah.
like your body, you feel it. Mentally, you feel it. It's just like you gotta break it. You gotta just be like,
Oh,
yeah, I gotta, forget it. You're only gonna get older. You gotta accept it, right?
yeah. My husband, he's also 42. He says you look 30.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Somebody said Asian don't raisin,
Yeah,
so
there you go. That's like kittens.
yeah, it's probably all the rice we eat. We eat so much rice. It's probably no wrinkles.
Oh,
But
goodness.
yeah,
So how are you doing this lovely Sunday morning?
I'm doing great. Woke up happy with a nice, my birthday. So can't get any better than that, right? Yeah. So I'm having a great morning. How about you?
I'm doing great. Scott says woke Brian up happy today.
Yeah, Scott called me early. He called me in the morning. I missed his call, but he called to wish me a happy birthday. Left me a nice voicemail, saying me happy birthday and everything.
Oh,
And he
that's
also
nice.
and he also told me his underwear was on backwards.
I feel like Scott has a lot of funny things to say.
Scott is awesome. One of the most genuinely nice guys I've met in this hobby. Like, it's really hard to come across some real nice people, and I've actually, you know what? Honestly, I did meet a lot of nice people in this hobby, but there's some bad ones too. But I like
Yeah,
when I meet the nice ones.
I I think that goes with everything. I know I grew up in horseback riding, and I could tell you
Mm.
there's all sorts of people in the competitive show jumping ring. You'll get
I'm
some really nice people in the sport, and you'll get some, not so nice, and it kind of goes with, wherever you get into, I think, eh?
honestly, yes, anything where it is any factor of competition, because I guess, like, even though I don't think the crested gecko hobby or any of the gecko reptile hobby should be competition, but people do
Yeah.
feel there's some sort of there's some little competition, right? So I guess that just like develops this animosity where everybody's gonna have different opinions, but the way people express their opinions is how you got to handle things.
Yeah, Scott's saying dog show people can be devils too.
Yeah.
One of my really good friends, and neighbors actually, he used to be in cat shows. And he actually had he had a
That's gotta
champion
be
cat,
bad.
and his cat was like on the Purina cat food bag, I think is what it was. So he even had he was a star cat. But he used to travel all over the states with this cat for cat shows, and the stories he's told me, it's wild. Cat people are wild too.
Oh yeah. Plant people. I used to be in the plant hobby. I was in everything. I do aquarium fish, obviously. I did plants, like tropical rare plants, bonsais. Like, I do bonsai too. I do
Oh, cool.
ponds. I used to be in the import car scene. I used to do import cars. Like, I used to mod cars and build cars. I did American muscle cars. All of it, no matter
Wow.
what it is. I've done a lot of things, and it's all the same. It's all the same. So that's like, people can't, like, oh no, this hobby sucks because everybody's so negative. No, it's anywhere you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Parkour Gecko says your best customer is another breeder, so play nice in the sandbox. 100%. So
Yeah.
you've been basically everywhere. Like you've done a lot of things. You're like a jack of all trades. So how
Jack of all trades, but master of none.
master of none? Yeah. How so let's get this started on how you got into geckos in the first place. Like how was this
Okay.
business? What was the birth of Who's Geckos?
So I started in reptiles probably since I was like, my mom like got me newts, like little newts when I was a kid, like turtles, little turtles. And so over here I don't know if you guys had them, in Chinatown, you would buy on the street. They used to sell these little turtles, like these baby
Okay.
turtles, like right out of the thing. It's $5, comes with a little critter cage, and like a little piece of food, and that's it. And
Oh
then we
wow.
got that. So like my mom was a single mom growing up, so pretty much like she was working like 2-3 jobs just like to make sure that we had a place to live and food on the table. And she would give like us like these things to like substitute the I'm not there, you have no father, I'll give you this animal stuff. So I
Yeah.
got that. And then I think when I was like 12, we got an iguana, and that was the first like real lizard we had. And then
Okay.
after, like I was
So you got
always,
iguana. That's like a huge responsibility as a kid.
yeah, we didn't know that in like 94 though.
Yeah. Well, it was
in
pretty
nine,
popular back then, right? Like it was
yeah,
like the
ni-
big lizard to get.
in 1994, you were able to buy for $10. You got a 10-gallon tank, a screen, a hot lamp, and an iguana. And that's what you got for $10, and from Petland discounts.
That's wild. Marcus saying all day, I got a baby alligator from Chinatown.
You get anything. You get anything. It used to be, not anymore, but like you
Yeah,
get like monkeys and stuff like that. It was crazy. It's
that's
crazy.
wild.
So
Yeah.
I
We had this iguana.
yeah. So there was no internet back then really. So it was internet. It was like AOL 2.0, right?
Yeah.
And the only research would be library or going to the pet store. And I would just ride my bicycle to the pet store, which was 10 blocks away. And I would go in there and talk to the guys, and they would teach me about the animals. So I just like every time I was like, oh, I love these. I love reptiles. I love reptiles. And I would always go play with reptiles. And then eventually I got a job at that Petland discount. And somebody had came in and brought in a pair of bearded dragons. They said it was 2 males, but it turned out they were a male and female, and I had them in a 75-gallon tank. And the
Okay.
female laid eggs, and I didn't know anything about it. But the guy who worked there is like, oh yeah, you get this chicken hoverbaiter, and it was like a styrofoam hoverbaiter, and you do that. And I hatched bearded dragons, and I had like 20 bearded dragons at that time. And then I was like, oh, this is great. I love this stuff. Like seeing hatching newborns and whatever. So I started getting into breeding it, and I accumulated more bearded dragons. And then I started like I had nothing to do with them, so I started wholesaling them back to the store that I was working at.
Oh wow.
They had at that time they had like 20 something stores or like 40 something stores, so they would distribute it amongst their stores. And so I then got into leopard geckos right shortly after that. And it was just like crazy because I just had thousands of bearded dragons, hundreds of leopard geckos. And my friend told me, one of the guys that used to come in as a regular, you should do this. You got so many reptiles. You should sell them. You should sell them at a reptile show. I was like, what's a reptile show? I didn't know what that is. And I didn't drive yet. So I was still like 16 years old. And he's like, oh, I'll take you. So, am I laggy? I feel like I'm lagging here.
I think you're fine. I don't know if anyone watching can confirm, but I think there was like a small little lag and it was fine.
Oh, okay. So I called up and I asked this guy Bruce for a table at the White Plains Reptile Expo, and he's like, yeah, this is $50. You could vend the table, and we have it on this date. And I was like, all right, sure, I did it.
And just to clarify, this is when you were 16, right?
Yes, 16 years old.
Yeah.
I was vending. And it's great because you know what? Now I see like even 13-year-olds vending. And I was like, that's freaking, and I see myself in that kid. And that's the best part. I love it. I love seeing young kids being there vending. Yeah. And so this guy Clark, his name's Clark. He's the one who took me to the first show. First I went, and then I vended. So unfortunately, at that time, it wasn't a good experience to be vending in that time period. I was young, and I dealt with like, it was weird because the way there was a lot of old heads doing it, like older guys, and they weren't the nicest to young people, especially like I'm Asian, and they're like, it's different. Asian people were not into reptiles. They're not. I mean, now we are. You'll start seeing a lot more people, but back then there was no Asian people really into reptiles.
Yeah.
So like I dealt with a lot of like racial slurs, discrimination, and stuff like that. People making comments, and I'm 16 years old. It's like, come on, like
Oh,
at that point, it's like it pissed me off. So I was just like, I hate that, and I still
yeah.
vended. I did 2 more years, and then I stopped, and I was like, all right, I'm not done. 2004, I got out of the 2004. I sold everything off because I I was going into I was getting ready to go into the academy for the police department,
Okay.
and which is my career now. And I sold everything off, and I went through the academy, and then I revisited back in 2009 with Cresteds and Gargoyles, and then I'm gonna tell you the story about when I sold that off in 2014. So so I wasn't breeding heavy. I had three trios of two crested trios and one gargoyle trio.
Okay.
And I was with dating my current wife, because I only have one wife.
What, other people think you have multiple? Is there a rumor
I
going
don't know.
around?
I don't know. Like when I said current wife, I'm like, oh, that sounds like I had multiple wives. But
Well, you could have had a previous wife. I had a
no,
previous
no.
husband. I have
I was
this is my second husband. The other one's an ex-husband.
I was dating my only wife, and we were
Gotcha.
dating. So the way I proposed at the New York Aquarium in Brooklyn. And in Brooklyn, there's I had organized where the diver was going to hold up a sign in the large aquarium, and it said, "Michelle, will you marry me?" And when she turned around, I was down on one knee.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
I needed an excuse to why I was going there, and my excuse was, oh, I have to sell my last gargoyle gecko to this girl in Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, which is right where the aquarium is, like 5 minutes from the aquarium. And I
Okay.
said, since we're there, let's go to the aquarium. And it just worked out perfect. And that was it was July of 2014. I had sold off my last Rhacodactylus, I guess. And
But
then
it transitioned you into the asking
yes,
her to marry you, right? So it was a good
yep,
transition.
yep. And then once we bought a house, I was like, oh man, I do miss the reptiles. I was always about the reptiles. And then I knew, and my wife was pregnant, and I was like, I want my son to be raised around the reptile stuff, because I just loved it as a kid, and I think it teaches him responsibility and stuff. So then it spiraled me down to what has become Who's Geckos, because I have that, like everybody else here probably has, that addictive personality, right? Like once you get one, you can't stop and you just keep buying. And addictive personality is good when it's not drugs or alcohol, right? So
Yeah.
spend it on geckos. And now it's developed into Who's Geckos, and it's been fun. It's been real
That's
fun.
awesome. And you have such a nice like setup. You if anyone hasn't seen it yet, check out his Instagram, because he does have a video where he shares like a walkthrough of everything, and it's just spectacular. Like it's so
Thank you.
nice. And just
Thank
like even like you have like a little living space down there, right? You have your couch and you can like just hang out and chill, and then the arowanas in the back. Like, so did you get the fish first before getting into the geckos, or is
Oh,
this something that you
so
kind of
I've been into fish forever, and
okay.
this basement used to be all fish tanks. I had a kiddie pool in here.
Oh
Like I
wow.
had a 9 foot by 9 by 4 by 2.5, almost 3 feet pool, where I used to breed stingrays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I was big
wild.
into fish. I think I had I had close to probably 10,000 gallons of water, maybe like 8,000 gallons of water down here, just all
Wow.
fish. Yeah, I used to be big into fish. I love it. I love
Did you
fish. I
used to
don't
like
think I'll ever get rid of them.
did you used to like sell fish and stuff and have that as a business
Yes.
too, or was yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I used to breed and sell fish. I used to breed like cichlids. I I used to breed discus. I was big discus. I used to love breeding discus. Those are
Okay.
real hard to take care of. I did all South American. I did African cichlids, Central American cichlids, and dwarf cichlids, all kinds of stuff like that. And I used to do all that stuff. It was always fun. Just breeding. I don't know. It's just the breeding aspect of anything is fun. It's kind of weird because it's like, oh yeah, you get to see life, but then like you're also kind of sort of playing God because you're the one dictating when the animals should be together and or breeding them,
Yeah,
right?
that ultimate outcome,
Yeah.
and you're the one making the decisions of what you're pairing to what, and
Hmm.
so on, right? Well, we all have a God complex. Let's just be
Yeah.
real.
It's like, yeah, you gotta, right? You have to. It's like it's that's I guess it's a sense of control a little bit, maybe. That's what
Yeah.
people like that feeling. Yeah.
I'm not familiar how a lot of the reptile expos are up in this or down in the States. I know for us, we have our one big one, which is CRBE, and that
Hmm.
combines a lot of like the pet side of things too. And they've incorporated aquatics as part of the display. So we have the
Oh,
reptiles, plants, and aquatics. So you can kind of connect all of that together. And even some of the smaller expos that they've had, they still do have it's like a plant and reptile expo, and we do have some more vendors now that specialize in aquatics as well that have started to now do setups in those expos, which is really cool to kind of blend it. Like, is there anything like that they're doing in the States, or do like aquatics have their own completely separate expo? Like, how is it where you are?
in the Northeast, I can tell you there is no reptile collaboration aquatics shows. I know in the West Coast, I heard that there's one that has like reptiles, aquatics, and birds.
Okay.
But over here in our Northeast, I don't know of any. I would love it because I get to knock off two birds, one stone type thing.
Yeah.
Um, they do have the fish expos are usually like there's one in Jersey. I don't know of any in New York, and most of these guys are like. So I'm not. I did saltwater fish for a little bit, but I wasn't into it. But
Mhm.
they have a lot of those. Those are because they do like coral swaps and stuff like that. So, not so much too many aquatic reptile shows. But they, besides flora fauna being like the plant fish, the plant reptiles, that's like the
Yeah.
only thing you'll see. And they have another one is like the reptile. I forget, but somebody in the chat probably knows the name of like that national reptile plant show that they have.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're seeing more of a change with that, right? Where you're seeing now more plant vendors being part of reptile shows and kind of
Mhm.
expanding, which is great because you're drawing in from other people from different aspects, not necessarily a reptile hobby, but other people that might potentially enjoy the reptile hobby, which may have not have thought of it like, oh, like plant, a lot of the plant people are coming around. They're like, oh, I can do a whole bioactive and then I can put dart frogs in there or crested gecko in there, or, and it
Yeah,
kind of like it broadens that horizon, right? Like you're really
yeah.
expanding, and it helps for breeders too because it expands the clientele at the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Scott says we have scales. I guess there's a show called
Show.
Scales.
And then Mary says the All American Plant and Reptile Show. So it's that's the
There we go.
that's the one that I was talking about that they have like that now. But it's kind of cool. I like it. I think it's great. Um, it becomes more like you said, broad in. But then like I don't know if you guys have these there, but we have shows here that and I feel like it's more detrimental to the reptile industry than actually helping, is like they have these pet shows, like reptile shows that have like they it becomes more of a pet show where there's a guy with a snake. You can pet like you take a photo of a guy with snake or birds or somebody that like they have tortoises. You could take photos and it becomes a pet show, right? Because then
Okay.
and it's great, and I like the aspect of it for the young kids because they get to have fun and stuff, and opens their eyes to like, oh look, reptiles. It's gonna be like maybe you can get into reptiles and it'll be fun. as a vendor of a show like that, it's like, I don't know. You vended the shows by you?
Yeah, so we don't have many shows, right? We have one closer to where we are. That one is more of a pet show and is just starting to expand with the reptiles. So that one we found that there was a lot of dog and cat people that would come over that just really wanted to see if they can hold a snake. And that show is really more about like educating, right? You're really educating people on what the animals are, and they tend to be return people. Like you just see them come. So like every year it's kind of a different vibe. You don't know what you're going to get, if it's going to be more educational or people are like, hey, I saw you last year and I'm here now to pick up a gecko. We have really strict rules here on biosecurity at our shows. So a lot of the rules is you're not supposed to have your animals handled. Like even if somebody buys it originally the rule is if someone would buy something, they could do what they want and they can handle it. But even the last couple shows we were in Toronto, like just outside Toronto, there was additional things put on there asking people not to take their animals out of the deli cup, and it's because we have like our version of like Fish and Wildlife that comes in to make sure that everything is up and up, right? Like even we have rules now that switch it. We can't even use deli cups for a lot of our reptiles. Like everyone now has to have displays. Only specific things can be in delis. The diameter, like the dimensions for the delis are very, very specific if you are able to use it. So it's been a little bit more strict. So like for me, like anything that needs water, anything needs to have a water dish. Anything that's arboreal needs to have something to perch on. So there's a lot more strict rules. So because of that, you're kind of bringing in a lot more people that are interested in the reptiles, and they're going there knowing that they're going to buy, a healthy animal from a clean place with a nice setup, and so we don't have the person in the corner necessarily that's like, come take picture with the snake and this and that, because that's how it is. I'm not sure how it is out west. Sly Kitten says, oh, weird, here in Alberta, Edmonton, it isn't a thing. Everyone is handling animals. So you see, depends on where you are in Canada. So she's saying they handle animals there. We do have at our shows on the East Coast, like in around Toronto, you can, like we do with certain shows where we'll have one snake, which is more of our education snake, if people have questions and are afraid and are wanting to learn more. And that animal is always the animal that ends up going into quarantine when we come back.
Oh, okay. So we don't have those regulations here. And so those shows become every single kid. And I as much as I would love to, like, put a smile on that kid's face to hold it so they can take a picture, but it becomes a show where it's like, oh, I want to hold the animal. Can I hold it? Can I take a picture with it? And it's like hundreds and hundreds of kids are doing that. And can you imagine the amount of stress that you're putting on the animal to do that? So it kind of like, I got to keep telling them no. And it makes me feel like an asshole because I'm saying no. And you got to see the disappointment on the kid's face. But it's just like, I also have to put the animal first. It's not like I'm not putting the animal out as a show, as like, a piece, an object, like you can just like, hey, here, look, so it's kind of like those shows kind of suck. I don't like them.
Yeah, but at the they suck, and I think if it's, I guess it depends on how they market it, right? Because you can also look the flip side on that, where those kids, that's maybe the first and only time they've ever touched a reptile, and that might have them catch the bug, where they're now going to go back to their parents for the next 6 months begging to get a snake or begging to get a gecko, and that might be, what's created our future keepers, right? Yes. So there is that, like, as a vendor, yeah, it's not fun necessarily to be at those shows, because you're looking, like, when you're going to a show, you're looking at your return on investment, right? So you're like, I'm spending so much for my travel, for my setup, for expenses, for vending fees, and so on. You're hoping to at least get some sales to, cover the costs, if not kind of make some sort of a profit. So when you're doing those, you're like, sometimes they're loss leaders where you're like, okay, is the benefit outweighing, what you're losing from it? But at the end of the day, I feel like there are a lot of people that do get that first exposure that does allow them to kind of, or even get over that fear where they may have been afraid of something before and they realize, okay, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like I've definitely made sales off of that in the past. And it's just I just feel like I just hate disappointing people. And then when I'm telling
Yeah.
them no, these kids know they can't hold it. It's just like,
Yeah.
ugh.
And that is tough. Yeah. And I know with our shows, we struggle that too, because depending on where they've been before, if they were at a smaller one before or something, they might have an expectation that they get to hold something. And you're like, no. And you kind of have to explain why. And you're like, I feel like I'm always disappointing everyone that comes here. They want to touch something.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. No. So have you been doing a lot of vending with the business? Like, or is it kind of slowed down, or what are
Yeah,
you
I
finding with that?
do like 7 or 8 shows a year only. It's not that bad. The White Plains show, White Plains Reptile Expo in New York. It's 20 minutes north of New York City. I do every one of those shows, and there's 5 a year. And then there's 2 Long Island Reptile Expos that is from the same vendor, whatever the host. And then I do another one, Nassau Reptile Expo. That's one. And then I do Flora Fauna.
Awesome.
Yo, Aaron, what's up, man?
Aaron's in the house, and he's doing a shout out for White Plains.
Yeah. He lives in North Carolina now. He's from New York.
Okay, awesome. And you sent me we're going to do something a little different this time, because I usually have pictures, but you sent me some videos of different projects that you're working with, and I think it'd be fun to kind of share some of the animals that you're working with, right? Because you're really big into like some of the phantoms and the dark.
Yes,
I love. Right?
I just feel like Phantom is just so is not explored enough. Even though there's a lot of it, it's just not. People kind of like don't really look too far into the Phantoms. And I think there's more into it than what people see.
Yeah, and when we talked about Mark Quincy and I were talking about Phantom in our After Dark episode, and it's something that if you use it in the right combination and in the right projects is like really nice.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
Do really cool stuff for sure. Let's bring up the first one here. So here we got a really dark Phantom. So tell me about this gecko and the projects that you're working with this one.
So I've been working with Dark Phantoms now 4 years. Maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, about 4 years. I've been working with Dark Phantoms, and so originally it was like the ones that caught my eye were the charcoals from AE Altitudes, and and you didn't really see too many Dark Phantoms that weren't from Altitudes lines, and so just to clear with everybody who doesn't know, because a lot of people inquired, do you have any charcoals? And then I said, no, but I have Dark Phantoms. They're like, oh, I was looking for charcoals. I was like, do you understand charcoal's not a morph? It is a line that was produced by Altitude Exotics. It's his line that he coined. So I was like, I love the Dark Phantoms. I love darks. And seeing the Xanthics being so dark, I was like, I want to make animals so dark that I don't have to, that it has no Xanthic, no nothing, just a clean, dark Phantom, normal, no cap in it, nothing. And that was my goal, was to make the darkest of the dark. And it's been like my ever so goal for the last 4 years, and it's going to be longer than that. I think it's going to be like a 10-year project where I can get it where it's exactly where I want it to be. But I love it. I've took as many different lines as I can of Dark Phantoms, and I even crossed in like outside blood of like using reds and olives into the Dark Phantom. So it's just not just because you don't know how line bred charcoal is, because Altitude does not keep track of his line. So I wanted to bring it out. Like my line has my original dark male Muzan. He's 25% charcoal. Yes, 25% charcoal of charcoal line. So I wanted to outcross it as much as possible, so that way I can have as many different, like, as much different bloodline as I could. So yeah,
Yeah.
dark has been my thing, and it's not the easiest because I'll tell people when you breed darks, you're not gonna get 100% dark, super darks. You're gonna get like 25, 40%. The offspring's gonna be really dark, and the rest are
Okay.
just they're dark, but they're like more brownish dark. So
Yeah.
but
And how are
it's a
you
good.
finding like raising them up like as they get bigger? Are you finding like that you have to hold on to them longer because they tend to like maybe get darker or lighter with age? Like what has been your experience with working with them?
So I have a mix, and I don't know if it's due to the different lines. Some
Okay.
will well, as they're young, they don't hatch out that dark, and then as they get older, they develop really, really dark. And then you got some that hatch really dark and stay dark the whole time, and those are the ones that I really like. And then you got some that hatch dark and lighten up with age. So it's like you
Okay.
get a big mix, and there's no like, and you can't give definitive answers, especially. I don't think you can give definitive answers on anything in the Crested Gecko hobby, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Everything's like you shoot your shot and see what you get, kind of, but you wanna it's better to have like some kind of like base, like, oh yeah, I know I'm gonna get this, I know I'm gonna get that.
Well, and it helps too the longer you work with the lines that you're creating, right? Like when you get to know your animals and what they're producing and you're seeing, what they look like as like the hatchlings as they grow in age. Like I work with a green project and I had one of the hatchlings from like when it was first worked in a project with somebody else. And I'm only seeing the green on this like on this gecko now that it's hitting 20 grams. Like at first I was like, oh, it's just a brown gecko. But I'm like, oh, okay. Now stuff is starting to change and happen. And I'm like, it took time to see that,
Yeah.
right? And then like knowing that and having that information kind of helps you decide like, how you want to take that project or what you want to kind of throw into the mix to see if it'll change that, maybe bring it earlier or so it's I think that's the fun part of the
Oh yeah.
projects and reading is the mystery aspect and then like kind of testing the waters with that and seeing how you can improve on things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even I hold all my animals to 20 grams anyway, at least. So I don't sell I rarely sell babies. Actually, the only time I sell babies is like morphs, like fraps, caps,
Okay.
xanthics, some lily whites maybe, because you know what you're gonna get with that. You
Yeah.
pretty much like a lot of other stuff. I like hold off a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Your
And then we
husband wants to
got
know what green project.
yeah, no, he knows. He's telling me to zip. he's like
Oh,
he's like,
got it. I got
what
it.
green project? What are you talking about?
I can't
He's
even
so funny.
I can't even see green, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm
Are you
colorblind.
are you colorblind? There's
Yep.
so many people that I've heard in geckos that are colorblind, and it makes me laugh because the big joke with ball python breeders is they always pick they'll pick names for colors. Like for instance, they'll have like lavender albino, and
I can't
this
see lavender at all.
or with banana, and they're like, this is so purple, and you're like, that's not purple. Or they'll be like, with sunset, this is really red, and you're like, it's brown, it's not red. And then when you see geckos that are really red, you're like, this is red. So I find like the big joke with ball python breeders is when they'll say certain colors, it's not necessarily the color, right? So,
Mhm.
but I find that Crested Geckos breeders, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm colorblind," but it's like, "Oh, you can see color because the geckos are exactly what you're saying they are."
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me sometimes. Like lavender, I can't see. Like everybody's like, "Oh, do you have any lavenders?" I'm like, I don't even know what lavender looks like. I'll tell you the
And you're
truth.
like, "I have gray."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Is there specific ones like colors that you can see? Like, is it a kind of a shade where you can see
It's like
better? Or
yeah, like so it's like they call it like red green. We're red
okay,
green. I'm red green colorblind. So basically, if red is closer to the orange spectrum, I can see it better. If red goes towards the brown spectrum, I can't see it as well.
okay,
Greens, as long as it's going closer to the yellow spectrum, it's a lot. I can see it. Like in the middle to the yellow, and then towards the browns way, I can't see. Purples is tough. Pinks is tough. If pinks is closer to red, I can see it.
Gotcha. But
Yeah.
it's fun. My dad is colorblind, and
Oh, so is your
so
son colorblind?
uh, he told me he wasn't. I'd have to kind of maybe do
Test him.
like testing, but I do know that it like with this. I heard it skips a generation, and I also heard that like if my dad is colorblind, I have the opposite effect where I see a larger ray of spectrum. So I see
Oh,
more variety of colors than what just an average person will see.
oh, you're
And
lucky.
I heard that that happens if you have like a parent that's colorblind, you actually get the opposite effect. Genetics is weird, eh? It's crazy.
So what I've learned about it was, the father. If you're like my daughter, if she has a son, he will most likely be colorblind because the way it's passed down is the male passes it down to the female, and then the female. We're like talking like it's geckos, but we're
Yeah.
talking about and then the female passes it down to their son, the male.
Fun. Okay, well now I'm gonna have to test them and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah.
It'd be
I
interesting.
honestly, I didn't know I was colorblind till I took the test for the police department.
Really, eh?
Yeah, I didn't know I was colorblind till I was 20, 21, 22, 21.
Yeah, I have a fellow contestant for 15 Minutes of Layman here, Charlie from Regan Renee. He says much more common in, I guess he means males, estimated as
Yeah,
many as 3/4 males to some level. That's wild.
that's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot
And
of guys.
Kristen, you said someone needs to name it the Hulk Project. That is what I'm naming it. I've
Oh,
always,
that's great.
I always
I love
put
it.
hashtag Hulk Project.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I try to find like fun little names for things that I'm working on because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I'm not far enough to be like, to name a line. Like you need years to be before you start naming things a line name, in my opinion. So I'm like, these are just projects that I'm working on. So I'm like, for the pixel, I'm like, that's my Polybius project.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
love it.
Dark Phantoms, I'm like, that's my, my Night Howler project. So it kind of be able to lump them into categories. But yes, definitely I have the Hulk project. Oh, and then my
Oh,
husband's giving me a vote. A vote for Crystal, 15 Minutes of Lame.
yes.
Yeah, bring up
Please,
my votes, guys.
everybody, vote for Crystal Gecko Diva on the Fat Man Nation.
See if we can bring me back up to 8%.
Get her to 50% now.
50. Yeah,
Every
that one,
everybody vote every day up until the
you know,
24th, right?
yeah, up till the 24th. Right now, I think I'm about 4,000 votes away from first place.
We can do it. We can
I
do it.
feel like if I go to like a big like gathering or something and just stick QR codes everywhere,
Just vote. Everybody just vote.
yeah, everyone just vote. So tell me
Or you
about.
just need a super viral video that gets millions of views.
Oh goodness. um. So, is he throwing a vote my way? What's Charlie doing here? I actually agree with the statement. If you have geckos and don't vote Crystal, you are wrong. Yeah, Riga. Okay, Charlie, you're saying this because you're winning at what last I checked was like 33%. So
Oh.
we know you're popular, okay? So tell me about this one here, this little guy.
So this is a phantom tiger. I've been doing tigers for like 3 years now. I don't know, I've always liked the tigers, and the bold, thick stripes is what I'm really about. This is something I love because I want to build it so thick that where I can incorporate these into other morphs like caps, fraps, lily whites, and I want it to be the genetic of the tiger to be so stacked so strongly that it kind of negates a lot of other stuff. So you could make some
Gotcha.
wild, different looking patterned animals, right? Kind of
Yeah,
like triple X. Let's say Pangea's triple X has a lot of tiger in it, and that gives them
yeah,
that distinct look, right? So if I can get this to be so stacked and use it to other things, that's something I want to do. Or make it so so much dark, bold pattern that it looks almost like a dark gecko, you know, with a light colored base.
Yeah. And tigers kind of had a bit of a refresh this past year because we've seen some pictures of some really cool cappuccino tigers that have kind of gone around, made the
Yeah.
rounds, right? Which have
Oh
been
yeah.
wild because it was like a huge contrast, almost like an orangey to black contrast, which has been so
Mm-hmm.
cool. Have you
Yes.
started
Yes.
working it with caps yourself or?
Yes, I do have. I did it last year. I did some. I did one pairing with Tiger and Cap. The offsprings are good. Not where I want it to be, but it's always you have to build your foundation. If anybody wants to make something they really like, you have to start somewhere, right? So you take your two animals, the best that you can find, until you can build up on the project that you want it to look like. So
Yeah,
I got
so
some time.
there was a Canadian breeder here that had, I want to say it was about 2 years ago, had some pink tiger hatchlings that she had for sale, which were really cool. And
Wow.
yeah, and I would love to see the development of those and how much it retained the base. If it was just because they were younger and they just didn't develop that red and ended up being more of a red tiger later on, or
Mhm.
but I think
Red tigers are rare. You'll never
yeah,
you don't see red like a you'll see red base tigers, but they'll have like a red tiger barring. So trying to get like a bold dark red phantom tiger is really really I don't think I've ever seen it, tell you the truth.
that'd be really cool. But those are things, goals to hit. It's like, how do we
I'm
make one?
I'm already two generations in and I'm not even getting it anywhere near where it is.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see the tiger stuff that you're going to produce because I think like when you're having a project like that and you're focusing on specific things, like the
Mhm.
possibilities are, the future for that. You're just like, oh, what can I make and what can I put tiger stripes on and how can I make it really isolate that and really make it pop, right? Um,
Yeah, it's that's some these are things like I like doing things that not everybody else is doing. I mean I do still have stuff that everybody else is doing obviously like you know everybody likes the high white coverage stuff. But I want to also work on the things that people don't really do, you know, and hasn't been perfected. And I'm not saying I'm going to perfect it. I'm just saying that I could try to make it to a type of way that I like it, you know, because
yeah,
beauty
but
is the eye of the beholder. So who
yeah, and the
knows?
work that you're doing with it, it might be other people too that might be, you're trying to be more innovative with it. And there might be other individuals too that are working in a similar capacity where once you guys get to a certain level, that's when you can start collabing with each other and
Oh
saying,
yeah.
sharing that information. I mean, like what's worked with you and like, how did you get that to be produced? And then
Mhm.
that's how you're gonna see those projects really start to thrive and grow, right? Well, that's exciting.
Absolutely.
What we got on this one here? So tell me about this Phantom. Is this a
There's
Phantom too, right?
also yes, and this is just a dark based one, and this came from dark pairing with
Okay.
Tiger, so it's kind of same thing like that last one, but just dark base. Yeah, I've you know I so it's like combining the last two together, pretty much the dark
Gotcha.
and the Tiger.
And you're
Oh
taking, yeah, that's just showing how you're taking that tiger, but into a more of a dark base, and you
yeah,
can still really see the outlines of it throughout the animal too, which
yep,
is really cool, eh?
yep. And you don't really see too many dark tigers, so it's kind of cool to do something different again.
Scott says trying for the red, but can't hit it. Have the dark and orange caps, and they are so hard looking for pores. Or I'm blind. Well, it
That's
could be
cool.
a that could be a
Yeah,
combination.
I think it's both.
Awesome. And you're not just doing like the dark phantom
Here,
stuff. So tell me about
so
this one here.
this is another tiger, and this is pattern tiger. This is not phantom. So you see how the tiger barrings are on the side, but you
Yep.
see there's pattern on top. So this hatched out as a patterned animal, but with tiger barring. So this is kind of like more things of like, you know, things you can see what tiger can bring towards, you know, the future. Like things like
Yeah.
incorporate. Like, can you imagine like some sort of like lily white that has that tiger marking, or something cool with dark, like your husband says, the dark bars, just bringing
Yeah.
dark bars into other animals. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what like a lot of my projects are starting to evolve around.
And also, like, you see aspects where it kind of almost outlines, right, the lighter pattern, and it really helps make that pop. Out of curiosity, is this animal here like a het phantom?
Yes, it is absolutely het phantom. Yep.
Okay. So I've noticed that with I work with empty back in lily white, and the empty back female that I was using is a phantom, so all of them are also het phantom. And I'm noticing with the yellow empty back lilies that I've hatched have that het phantom influence, so it really highlights a lot of that patterning and makes it more dark, and completely outlines all the white too from the lily, which is really cool. And it really makes it pop against the yellow, because I love yellow geckos, and I think it's really...
me too. I started a hashtag, let's make yellows popular.
Yeah, I was jumping on board that 100%.
I love it. Yeah, yellows are my jam. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then when you start adding things like even like a het phantom influence on it, it's just wild, the things that will kind of pop out and the influence it has, right?
Yep. I love it.
My husband says, let's make yellow great again.
I love yellows. I feel like they're so underappreciated. They're sleepers. You'll see yellows are gonna be it, because it's going to bring out I feel like there's so much more you could do with yellows, because other bases, I realize a lot of it, and it goes based on pigmentation and the layers of the skin, right? And
Yeah.
where things stack on geckos, yellows bring out the most out of everything, right? It's like, just think as yellows is like your base, and then everything else is like stacked on top. So tiger's most visible through yellow. Whites, they pop more. I feel like you can get it to be popping more, but the only thing is the actual whites, and there's some that are white, but there's a lot more that are cream white. But if you get white on yellow, it definitely looks way better than it would on a dark base or a red base.
So I had a really successful season with the empty back lilies, and I hatched 3 yellows, lily empty backs. 2 of them have a tangerine influence, so you can see the white is not crisp, but the one my holdback that I'm keeping, it's white, like just paper white, which is so nice because it pops. I would like to eventually work in the tangerine line I'm working with, where you're getting a yellow where all the white on it is like orange. And I've seen some animals like that, which is really cool. And I'm like, I think that would be really nice to have that vibrant colors like pop.
I seen some guys in Korea recently post some really like tangerine yellow to lily whites lately, and that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, definitely. If you're able to do that, I'd definitely grab.
That's the direction I'm going. A lot of the stuff that they posted where it's like all the white is orange, I'm hoping that, but with like a yellow base and a red base. So that's the ultimate goal.
Keep me in mind when you make them.
I will. Scott says my best yellow male is named Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who makes really nice animals too, from Scott.
Yeah. And then we got this one here. This is your frap that you made,
frap. See how so this is what my best frap I've produced, because you can see the scalation. Look how thick the white scalation is. Yeah. It just pops so white. A lot of fraps that are produced, they yellow out as they get older. She's held it. She's over 2 years old now, and she's held it. And you can see the outline of like the try in her. It's just so much going on that I love this. I just love her. And it wasn't even like, I did not even anticipate producing her. I just like, all right, I'm just gonna pair this very, very mediocre, very actually low end cap that I found on Craigslist. This is back when This is back when, remember, everybody was doing the cap hunting, going to Petco's, PetSmarts, looking
Yeah,
for caps. So
100%.
I found this one on Craigslist, and I was like, oh, I got to prove it out. And then I used a pretty nice, lily white male. I went based on color whiteness, and it was
Okay.
from Northern Gecko, Mark Orphis, up there,
Okay.
and she came out. I was like, oh wow, this is crazy! I can't believe I produced this out of those two animals.
It
So
was just
yeah,
magic.
I just one of those things, you get lucky, right?
That's awesome. So what's your goal with fraps and caps? Like, do you have specific, are you taking into being like more innovative and taking them into a different direction? Or because I know there's a lot of different directions that people have been kind of taking the project, right?
So caps is it's still new. There's still so much you can do with caps. There's some people do great things. Like Ralph from Cresties Spectrum, he has this blood orange cap line, and he brings that into fraps, which is really, really, really cool. I love that. So I want to see where I can go with caps and fraps in terms of like tries and tigers. It's hard. So the only thing I wouldn't do, that I'm not doing, is cap phantoms, only
Okay.
because I just feel like for me to distinguish the difference between a phantom cap and a normal phantom is like, it's hard. It's really hard, and I don't want to make the mistakes. I'm sure it's they're throughout time we'll figure it out where we can tell the difference, but I don't want to. There's nothing for me to do, I think, in terms of that. So, just making patterned fraps and caps and make them the best of the best. Full coverage stuff. I like the contrast though. I definitely like the way this is. I prefer a gecko that's like this over a gecko that's fully covered in white, just for the fact
Yeah.
that I like contrast.
Well, the contrast really makes that pop, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think people, I don't think you're alone in that, where there's a lot more people at first. The goal was to make as much white as possible. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, I kind of miss that pop of color,
Yeah,
you know?
I do too. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not trying to make full covered animals anymore.
Yeah. And I think on the subject of like phantom caps and stuff, like there are some combinations that are a bit more tough to ID. And it's like the same question I know Brian at Altitude had. Are you going to, work your charcoal line in with your xanthics? And it's like, it makes it difficult where do you really want to start hatching out animals that you're going to struggle IDing? And how do you guarantee, if
Yep.
that's a visual xanthic versus something else? And, we're not where other reptiles are, like ball pythons have genetic testing. Unfortunately, we can't rely on things like that where you can kind of be able to get that reassurance that what you're working on is including this and so on, right? So for us, we're so far behind on that you have to absolutely rely on what you're seeing and the experience, and having, if you're in doubt, experienced people around you to kind of help figure those things out. And we're still, I guess, archaic in that, from that side of things, right? It
Yeah.
makes it a little bit harder to be as I guess a little bit harder to kind of blend those lines when you're trying to work with certain projects.
Yep. Absolutely.
I have a question in here that popped up. I don't know. Are you working with xanthics?
I do have xanthics. I only have one pairing, and the female that I got is an empty back xanthic visual that I got from Scott, and then and I pair her to just a lily white. I have a lily white het xanthic, and I've produced some nice. I produced some nice empty back stuff. Xanthics. It's good because I got 50% odds on the hets. I got like 75%. I probably produced like 7 or 8. Well, let's say I produced 3 lily white xanthics, and I produced 4 xanthics, and then I only produced like 2 or 3 hets, non-visual. So yeah, I love them.
So the question here is, I heard from Gecko Nerd on this podcast that you could tell if an animal is het xanthic If you see a bunch of gray scales on the head. Yeah, so I've heard that too. I haven't produced any visuals here myself to test the theory out, to be honest. So I don't know. I think that the more that people are working with and sharing that information, it might be something that, I know that's what Quincy is saying has been his experience. And
Mhm.
Jennifer pops in here and says the gray scales pop out with a black light. So that's good to know.
That's
Definitely
interesting.
test that theory, right?
I guess people need to produce. What you gotta do is get a whole bunch of like take a 100% het male and just produce it to normals and take all the babies and examine them for the gray scales and pick out the ones with that have that gray scalation, and
Yeah.
then breed them to a visual or another het and see if you produce exanthics. And if you hit 100% on that, then I guess you're right, and that's the way to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. My husband says, for the shed testing, in fairness, your animals eat their sheds. Yeah, for the
Yeah.
most part, it's hard to catch it, but I have had situations where I've opened up their enclosure and you have a full body suit just laying there on a branch, like a little pair of pajamas. Uh, Unbiased Gecko Talk popped in. I'm guessing this is probably Quincy because I saw Mark on his own earlier. I have
Oh,
seen 100% hats with grayscales, but that isn't 100% across the board. And it could
okay.
be a hat marker. So you'll see that with like ball pythons with when they're het for pied, sometimes you'll get a ringer around the tail, and that will be a het marker for being het for pied.
Yeah,
But it's not, or like the tracks along the belly on the sides, but it's not always the case. You can't
100%.
just rely on that, right?
Yeah.
So you're not just working with Cresties, you also have a wide range of
Oh yeah.
different other reptiles, and you did share with me a couple videos of some other animals that you're working with projects. So tell me about this project here. This is a
I
really
just
cute
I
guy.
just got these. These I got from Legacy Herps, Justin. These are Calotes pethiagoda, which are from Sri Lanka, Africa. It's an agamid species. This is
Okay.
a baby. This is still a baby. When the males grow up, that bluish white tone is covers their body. It is amazing. I love these
Oh, cool.
animals. They're not very common in the industry. I think there's only like one or two people that breed them in the US. So they're super cool. They're like, I mean, it looks like an iguana, like a baby iguana, right? So it's kind
Yeah.
of this is something I love. I just love the different stuff now. I've been
How
venturing.
how big do they get, like as adults?
Um, with tail, probably a little bit about a foot and a foot and a half, not that big. You keep a pair of adults they like to climb, so a 36 by 24 by 18 Extotera
Okay.
would be perfect for them. So they're not huge. The care is pretty much similar to Cresties. They don't need heat. But
Okay.
they do need UVB. So UVB, and they only eat insects.
Okay.
So very
There you
easy to
go.
care for.
Very,
Yeah. These,
very pretty. That's for sure. I like the bright colors and the blue and
oh yeah.
the,
This is not even like so. I don't know how these things fire up and down, but where the base is, it gets like dark, dark. They're
yeah.
my Kimberly rocks. I love
Yeah.
these. Oh my
I've
god.
been telling my husband I've been wanting to get one of these, and then I saw that you posted it, and I was like, "They're so cool." They look like little sneaky little fox faces. Like they're just kind of like,
They're they're so awesome. The personalities are great. In the beginning, they're a little bit like skittish, but once they
yeah,
start to get to trust you, you'll like they're like little dogs. They're like personality. Like I'll hang and they'll hang out with me all day in the gecko room, like when I'm cleaning and stuff, and it's freaking awesome. I love them.
so are
I
these
used to breed Ackies. I used to breed Ackies. I used to
okay?
keep I used to keep Kingorums and other dwarf monitor species, and this is like talking 20 plus years ago. And I've never had Kimberly rocks, and so this time I was like, you know what? I want Kimberly rocks, and finally I bit the bullet and I bought them, and now I want more monitors. I love monitors.
That was going to be my next question. Is this the only monitors that you have right now, and are you intending on getting more?
So I have a pair of Varanus colii, which is of a family of the Indicus family, which is the mangrove monitor. It's
Okay.
a different locale in the K Islands of Indonesia. They're actively on sale now on Morph Market. It's a pair. It's a male and a female. Those are super rare. Like only like less than 5 people have them in the US. I just don't want them because they're not exact. I guess they hide more than I want them to. I don't see them as much,
Okay.
and they do require more space. They're like a tree monitor size. They get 4 feet, so
Yeah.
I would need at least like a 6 foot tall enclosure by 6 feet. So
Yeah. It
I
demands a
figured
lot more
out.
space.
Yeah, I just want to. If I were to use that, I would rather a species that I can handle more. That I don't have to. I'm sure you can handle these, but you have to work with them, and I don't have the
Gotcha.
patience to work with them as much as they do that they need.
Yeah. So for now, you're just sticking with the Kimberleys, but you're
Yeah,
yeah.
and I want to get a really large species, but that's when I move from New York. I want to get a black dragon, the Asian water
Oh,
monitor.
okay. Those are nice. That
I
requires a lot more space.
Yeah, when I move, I'm out of New York. I can get enough space where I can dedicate a
Yeah.
room to it.
There
Yeah.
you go. That would be a really nice, like, even you can set up such a nice showpiece enclosure for that animal too.
Oh yeah. I have
With like
dreams.
a water feature and everything. Look at you. I'm sure you have it planned.
Oh, yep, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. I'm just gonna see the next one's gonna pop up here. I love these little guys. They're so cool. And so what we
Oh
have
yeah.
here.
These are Diplodactylus galeatus, which is a common name helmeted gecko. These are Australian terrestrial species, and
Okay.
they are awesome. I got these from John from Gecko's Geckos. This is a pair. They should be able to breed after this year. I'm brumating them right now. They're just such an awesome species. There used to be more common back in the day. Now you don't see them so much. So I like I like obviously the less common stuff. So
Yeah.
these things are just so cute and they're awesome. I love these. I only have one small area of hot I call a hot rack, which is, they got belly heat. So these guys need warmer temperatures, but these are
Okay.
awesome.
They're really cool. And I love that like they have the little helmet.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're freaking awesome. And
Very
they're
cool.
small. Those are adults. Those are full grown.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So like they're the size of basically a chameleon gecko.
Yes. A little bit thicker, but lengthwise, yes.
Okay. I don't know if it froze here and we just haven't gone to the next one. Let me see if I fast. There we go.
Yeah, this is another Diplodactylus, same species, same family. Well, the first one was Furcosis, and now the one that's on here is Graniaris rex. Those both I've produced babies from both of these pairs, and
I think it froze on me, so I'll bring it back up. There we go.
okay. Yeah, this is the Furcosis. These are another Diplodactylus species, also same Australian. And these things are amazing. They're just so different. I love the different stuff that not everybody has always.
Yeah. Are you finding like these specific more niche species of geckos? Are you finding that there's more variations starting to come out with like color pattern mutations, or I guess morphs and so on? Are they very much, because I know we see stuff with morning geckos, right, where you have the Hawaiian morph, and there's a
Okay.
little bit more things that are kind of starting to pop up. And
So I don't think that these are bred enough that you can get them to that we see difference. Like in the Galeatus, the first set of Diplodactyls that you showed, you'll start to see some with like different types of like circles on their back. Some will be
okay,
smaller, some will be larger. That's pretty much it. But you don't start seeing like big significant things. Like it's kind of like Eurodactyles, the chameleon gecko. You don't really see too much difference. Like Agricola, you'll see some have more orange, some Viardes and stuff like that. You'll see thicker, larger scaling on them.
yeah,
Occidentalis, same thing, larger scaling. Except until last year, we had this guy Mike Seifert. He had finally produced a melanistic Urodactylodes, which is
I
awesome.
saw that. It is so cool.
So that's like actually, and he's in the process of still proving out like the trait. Obviously, melanistic should be recessive. So
Yeah.
it's still a baby. So hopefully it'll prove out being recessive, which I'm pretty sure it's going to prove out. And it's cool with the black eyes and everything, right? I love it.
Yeah,
And
it's really
Mike
cool.
Sievert's local to me, so I get to talk to him about that project all the time.
Have you seen it in person yet, or?
He did. No, he didn't. I keep telling him to bring it to me because we vend the same show, and I vend
Okay.
across from him, and I'm like, bring it. He's like, nah. I was like, come on, man, I'll protect you. I won't let anybody steal it from you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
no, I
I'm
saw that
gonna push
post.
him more.
I saw that post. It was really cool, and I was like, "No way! Like that's so neat that there's going to be,
Yeah.
and to see how that kind of progresses with that project."
He
Yeah, that's
produced two.
really cool.
He produced two from the same
Yeah.
parent. Yep.
So that
Love.
means the two, if it's, I mean, at the end of the day, it should be recessive. So that means he should be able to produce more with that pairing.
Yeah. Yeah. But just like sometimes, like these species, they're not as like Crested Geckos where you could produce 1,000,000 of them. So they're like Diplodaktylus species. They're not an easy species to breed. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize that brumation especially in like Australian, any of those like Australian species or New Zealand species, they need to go through a brumation period where they need to like cool down
Yeah.
and then warm them up. It's not easy. You got to mimic their actual natural habitats. Like Crested Geckos, you
Yeah.
just put two of them together, you're gonna have 1,000,000 babies.
Yeah. I have a pet bearded dragon, and like I don't breed beardies. Like she's just a pet. But every time around this is like she's right now in like a semi brumation. Like she's already
Oh,
kind of
okay.
hit that, and then she'll kind of like she'll sleep for about 2 months. She'll usually sleep, and then she usually wakes up around Christmas for some weird reason, and then she goes back to sleep, and
She wants
and
her
then she wants her what?
presents from Christmas.
Yeah,
Santa's.
right. She's like, "Where are my gifts? Bring me a hornworm." But yeah, I mean, some of those species, they just need that, right? And whether you breed them or not, I've seen people, with pet tortoises that where, some species just they thrive and they do better when you're putting them out down for brumation in the winter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of these, we like I said earlier in the show, I said we're playing God, right? We're kind of playing God by doing this. We're keeping them in their own habitat. We control their environment. We control their husbandry. We control what they
Yeah,
eat. We control everything. Without us, all these animals die, right? So like this,
yeah,
without me taking care of this, these guys die. So what they eat is what I give them. So we play that God role. So in nature, God plays that role of, hey, listen, this is nature does it takes its course. There's a cricket comes or whatever insect passes them. Not saying crickets are their natural predator food source, but
yeah,
that the way that nature takes like their seasons and everything. So we have to control that in here to mimic that. So that way, they have their exact natural habitat, right? So
yeah.
it's important. A lot
Um,
of people don't do that though.
yeah. We've talked for an hour and 23 minutes.
Wow,
I usually try to
went
keep
by
these
so
to an
fast.
hour, and I'm like, and this has been such a great conversation, and I feel like we could have a part two.
Oh, I'm down. You let me know. I'm always down.
Yeah. Uh, so what is like? So how are things going right now with Who's Geckos? So like, what's your future plans for 2025? Do you have some goals, or is there things? Because I know you've mentioned in a couple posts you've kind of scaled back a bit right now, and like, so what's the goal for next year?
So I'm still in the process, and it's weird because I'm coming up to that season right now where we're pairing. I don't know exactly where I want to be. Like there's days that I'm like, oh, I want to produce so many, and then there's days that I want to like take it back and do less. At the end of the day, I know I'm going to produce less, a lot less, because there's so many people out there, there's so many breeders out there, and I don't want to contribute to producing too many animals for the fact that, we don't want to. I'm not saying that to saturate the market, but more so like there's no need for me to produce so many animals and care for them. It's it's more so because this is not my livelihood, right? I have my own
Yeah.
job and everything. So I don't, the necessity of producing animals to sell is not for me. That's not what it is. I'm here
Yeah.
just for the hobby, really. It's really just, that's what I realized, that I need to scale. I went MIA for a while because I was just like, oh, you know what? I wanted to scale back and realize that this is a hobby for me. It should
Yeah.
have been a hobby from the beginning. And I let it become more than a hobby. I started affiliating
Yeah.
with people. I started affiliating with people that had different mindsets than I have, and I was influenced by that mindset. And then I started getting into like, oh, I got to keep up. I got to produce. I got to make more. And
The
now
hustle and
recently,
grind. Yeah.
yes, and it's like what's that keeping up with the Joneses type thing, right? So it's
Yeah.
like keeping up with the Joneses. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but then you lose your focus of who you actually are and
Yeah.
what you're doing. So that's where I am at now, and I'm refocusing and realizing where I want to be. So now I want to be where I want to just do this as where I came into this hobby to do, to be fun, to be positive, to embrace everybody, to promote everybody. You know,
Yeah.
I love that part. And my goal originally, and because like I spoke earlier about me having that time when I was young and dealing with the negative and the racial and being pushed out because I was a teenager doing this.
Yeah.
I wanted I wanted to be welcoming for everybody. I hate that there's some sort of drama or fighting, and you know what? I can't stop it.
Yeah.
I can't stop it. We
Yeah.
can't stop it.
It's
But
gonna happen, right? And the only thing you can do is choose how you fit in all of that. And
yes.
I think it's great that you had taken a step back and taken that opportunity to really seek it. Why am I doing this? Because I
Mhm.
know I've struggled with similar things too. It's like, well, why am I doing this in the first place? Why I work full time. To me, it's because I enjoy the animals and working
Exactly.
with the animals, trying to be innovative and seeing like cool things and what I could do, and then networking with everybody, right? And then kind of helping, get that information out there and getting more people kind of like supporting each other and being that positive,
And
impact in the hobby.
that's how this community and hobby grows. And I think that's the most important thing for me. And I think I am definitely cutting it back. I did have about 1,200 animals earlier in the year, like around summertime. I am down to probably around 500 to 600 now. I don't know
Okay.
exactly, obviously, but I'm in a controllable area part. But ideally, I want to bring, just in Crested Gecko hobby, I want to bring it down to probably a maximum of 25 pairings, 20 to 25 pairings, and that's going to
Okay.
be on my max end. If and just be like that, and then just work on like what I showed you earlier, the dark phantoms, the tigers, some frap stuff. I do have sables, I do have exanthics, but those are just going to be one pairings. I'm not trying to produce 100 sables. I'm not trying to produce,
Yeah.
you know it's just stuff to play with, kind of,
Well, it's stuff to play with, and you're working it within the projects you're already doing, right? And it's
yeah,
like
just like
how can I work that into what I'm doing now and have fun with it.
exactly. And that's pretty much it. It's just doing it for fun. I'm not trying to take over the industry. Like some people are trying to take over the industry. I'm not trying to take over the industry. I just want to have fun. That's all it is. And you some and that's what I like. My number one thing is to tell people, like, hey, listen, just remember where you came from and the reason why you got into this. This is the most important thing. Like, you lose that sight pretty quickly when you get to a certain stage, right? It's
Yeah.
like, why did I get into this? Because I wanted this for my son. I wanted my son to be
Yeah.
involved in, like, the reptiles, and then I let it overtake what it was, and then I became, oh, I wanted to be the best of the best, and
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why? Like, I started feeling in certain ways, like, you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm better than everybody, because that's just like a really shitty mentality. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse here, but
No, you can
uh,
curse as much as you want.
oh, okay. But it's just like, just you got to have humble, And that's the most important thing. Stay humble, no matter where you are in this hobby. If you're going to be at the top of the top, always stay humble. Remember where you came from, and that's the most important thing.
That's awesome. So where can anyone find you? Like, or, like, pimp out your socials so everyone knows, because you've got a pretty big following, I know, on Insta, and like you've been
I'm on,
posting things on channels and stuff. So.
Yeah, my most thing I'm always on is Instagram, and that's at Who's Geckos. It's right there under my name. I do, like, I have other things. I have a YouTube that I do short that I have not uploaded anything. I I do have some of the, like, the breeder tips that I've done on there. I also have TikTok, all that shit.
That's awesome.
I used to be, yeah, I do, but I haven't uploaded anything recently. I used to be on Palm Street. I haven't done that. I'm not sure if I'm returning to it yet.
Okay.
Right now,
I think we'll have, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like contemplating, because I do have sometimes these little, and I have one next weekend too, where it's more of a chat with friends, and it's more of an informal thing. And I think what I'm going to do is start using those to be more of like an industry talk, and on how things are going. And I think that would be a lot of fun to kind of get a couple people together and kind of talking,
like a round table type thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Those are good.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time out of your birthday.
Thank you.
With me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
No, it was an awesome chat.
Is this your longest stream yet?
I don't know. I'll have to go check. I don't know if it's around 130, 140. You might be on the cusp of it, or maybe the longest stream.
I talk too much. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not. It's been a great conversation, and I think that everybody who's been, I mean, we have over 30 people watching live today, which is awesome.
That's awesome. I appreciate everybody
on a Sunday morning investing their time to hear us talk about geckos, and I think that's awesome. And it's been a great chat, and I love having these type of conversations and sharing, experiences, and trying to kind of push that, the key messages into the community. And I think it's important to remind people too, right? That whole thing, stay humble and remember why you're in it in the first place.
Yep. Most important thing.
Awesome. So I'll put you backstage, and I'll see you, and I'm going to close off the show. And again, thank you so much for popping on and having a chat with me today. And with everybody in the chat.
Appreciate you guys.
That was an awesome chat, guys. Thank you so much for sticking by us on the live. And for those of you who are going to catch the replay later, I really appreciate it. I will remember to throw out tonight. My husband has the lamest chat on YouTube. It's on the Fat Man Nation, and that's at 7. And we have the debates next week. So, and we have enough people partaking in the debates that it's been split over 2 sessions. So part 1 of the debates is on Wednesday. With half the contestants that are participating in the debates. And I'm on part 2, which is the Thursday. So the debates are basically the judges from 15 Minutes Lame get an opportunity to talk to us contestants as a panel and get to ask us questions. And they get to be a lot of fun. I know last year there was a couple jabs at each other, and it's all in good fun and to kind of, have a good time with it. But it'll be a lot of it'll be interesting to see what everyone has to say in the questions. So if any of you have time to spare to join us live on Thursday, I did post it on Instagram. I will be promoting it this week. And it'd be great to have some Gecko supporters in the chat and, rooting for me for that debate. And hopefully I'll be able to do you guys proud and really, champion the Gecko people. Next week, I do have it set for a chat with friends. Tentatively, I'm not sure how that will pan out. I'm going to be reaching out to people this week to see if we have a group of people who are interested in participating. It is before Christmas, so I know we all have a busy time of year. So I will post this week whether or not we're going to go through with that one next Sunday, or if we're going to end up taking some time off. But stay tuned, and we'll see how that goes. And have an awesome rest of your Sunday and a great week, and hope everyone's got your Christmas shopping done. And if not, best of luck to you in busy stores, because that's what I'm going to do after this, is to kind of tie up some loose ends and some Christmas shopping. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks for joining and tuning in.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.